welcome to Policing TV. I'm delighted to, just a short time after successful completion of a major UK policing conference, I'm delighted to be joined here by David Bailey of the Police Digital Service, the head of events and brand engagement there, who has been playing absolutely the leading role in preparation and delivery of this. National Police Chiefs Innovation and Digital Summit taking place this week in Liverpool. Sadly, I wasn't able to attend. I was on the other side of the world. But David, from the other side of the world, it's been an absolutely resounding success. And I suspect you're able to confirm that from your side of the world.
Absolutely. The feedback has been immense and better than I could ever have hoped when we came up with the idea of let's do this ourselves, policing, by policing, for policing, with policing, our own digital innovation summit. Not that we set ourselves some perhaps big challenges to bring two very complex, diverse coordination committees together from the National Police Chiefs Council, both Jeremy Vaughan's and Rob Carden's committees together into one event. And to run it in-house in less than a year's planning. In fact, I only had my event team for 4 months before this event, my 2 members of staff who have been absolute stars, and the rest of the Police Digital Service who really stepped up and helped to make this event possible with the support of the suppliers and the rest of our partners to allow us to move forward on the digital strategy and the innovation strategy. That's the point of the event. The event itself is just a means to an end of delivering those key strategic aims.
You mentioned 2 names there that our viewers around the world may not all be familiar with, Jeremy Vaughan and Rob Carden, 2 chief constables here, or rather in the United Kingdom, who lead respectively National Police Chiefs Council's portfolios that are relevant to this conference. So let's start on preparation, though. Where did the original idea for this conference come from, and how long? You mentioned it's been 4 months with your core team, but presumably it's taken longer in the preparation for this.
Absolutely. Now, there's been digital summits and digital conferences over the years. We didn't have one in 2024, but in 2023 we had a digital summit in Brighton. What we wanted to do with the refresh of the approach that we wanted to do was to bring it in-house, to have it done by policing, for policing. So we had able to make sure that every penny that we raise from it, because it's really important that policing hasn't got a lot of money and it can't afford to run these events. So we needed to work with our sponsors and the supplier community to enable this to happen. And that reflects on the National Digital Strategy refresh that we launched earlier on this year. Where we changed the strategy. One of the key changes of the strategy halfway through was making it from enabling the private sector to collaborating with the private sector. And the whole point of this event was to bring people together so they could engage with each other and influence each other both ways. So the community of policing and technologists and innovators can influence the industry, and industry can influence policing. And that's the point. We truly collaborate to try and find the way to move forward and, of course, create the collaboration between the different police forces and agencies involved in law enforcement in the UK. So that's the whole purpose of the event. And that's the focus on the agenda, the speakers, the venue to enable all those sort of things to happen. So, yeah, it's all a matter of the outcome isn't the event. The outcome is what happens as a result.
Let's come on to the speakers and agenda in a moment or two, but I just want to address first the sponsors and exhibitors, just acknowledging that Policing TV and our sister media outlet, Policing Insights, delighted to be supporters of this excellent event. But look, the sponsors and the exhibitors play a key part. You've acknowledged already that they provide significant funding for the event.
Yeah.
And also they contribute through being speakers, contributing. The networking is key. Tell us a little bit about the sponsors and exhibitors.
Yeah, we had over 60 sponsors there, including some public sector partners who were not sponsors but exhibitors to make sure we got the real mix of the ecosystem. And one of the key priorities that I set out early on was that at least 20% of the sponsors at this year's event would be organisations from around the world who've got interesting things to offer that we are perhaps not seeing in the UK or need to learn from. So that's something we really did succeed extremely well. We had academic agencies there, we had brand new startups and SMEs, right through to some of the usual suspects, but also some of the big companies didn't actually manage to get a space. Their bids weren't good enough to get in. We ran a bidding process to get into the event where it was about what you're contributing towards the agenda, what you're contributing towards the delivery of the strategies. And we had a waiting list of sponsors trying to get places. We did sell out, actually extended the floor plan and had more sponsors and exhibitors take that extra space.
Hi, so I'm Ed Mason. I lead the Policing, Justice and Home Office team at Virgin Media O2 Business. Virgin Media O2 Business were principal sponsor of this year's summit. Being completely honest, been really blown away by the event itself and the follow-ups that we've already had post-event. Gave us three really key things. The first one was to hear from people across the policing landscape around how digital transformation is supporting policing today and what more we can be doing into the future. It gave us an opportunity to engage with organisations across policing that we currently work with and further develop some of those relationships, and also have conversations with organisations we don't work with across policing and talk to some of the things we're doing in other areas and how we could work together in the future. The third thing is that we got to speak to a number of the people within our partner ecosystem. So it brought together a lot of the suppliers from policing, where we were able to talk to what we're doing today, engage and potentially look at how we can work together in the future to further support policing. Three things that stood out for me: the collaboration, and I mean that across the policing bodies, the police forces, the supplier ecosystem that were there as exhibitors. The desire to do things quickly and at scale was hugely positive. And most importantly, the thing that really shone through for me was the passion that was shown in every talk that I attended, in every panel that I attended, in every conversation I had, that there's a real desire across everyone that was at the summit to now move forwards and do some great things together.
Hi, my name's Andy Duran. I'm our Director of Innovation Strategy at Salesforce. I'm just reflecting on the brilliant conference last week. The MPCC Summit 2025 in Liverpool was an amazing event, bringing technology partners, bringing senior leaders across policing together. And for us at Salesforce, it was a great place to demonstrate the next generation of digital workforce, having Chris Philpott, Mike Latangio, and John Bowler, senior leaders from across policing, explaining how the future of technology can help policing and grow to where policing needs to be for the next 5 years and beyond. What I loved about the conference and what we loved at Salesforce was just the brilliant size of the venue, the fantastic organisation from PDS, David Bailey and the wider team to bring what was a really complex environment together to make it work for policing. What the key points that I got from that is think differently. And this is about thinking differently. We all know that if we do the same thing and expect different results, that's not going to work. We can't people our way out of the position where policing is now. We have to grow, we have to be consistent, and we have to build in trust into everything we do, both for the public and for staff. Trust starts at home, and that was a really key message throughout the summit.
I'm the product training manager for Reveal Media, suppliers of body-worn video cameras to law enforcement, health and retail globally. Yes, so attending events like the Innovation and Digital Summit for us is critical to be able to spend time with the key decision makers and influencers around the businesses. The event itself, incredibly well managed. We were able to engage with contacts from across current clients as well as clients that we're working with, looking to develop their capabilities. It was nice to be able to meet some of the other suppliers as well and spend time talking to them and speaking to various other people who were attending the event interested in our capabilities of body-worn video cameras. I can't overestimate how important it is for us to attend events such as this and to be involved in events like this. Being able to actually spend time in the room with people, to get face-to-face with them, to be able to get hands-on and demonstrate our capabilities, our software and our hardware, having dedicated time to answer questions, and then having the opportunity as well just to socialise with them, and almost like in a much more relaxed atmosphere, as well as the formality of something like a summit or an innovation summit, was really good. And we certainly came away from it with some really high quality leads and contacts that we're exploring at the moment.
We'll come on to what's happening next year a little later in this, but I suspect that the message there for sponsors and exhibitors is get in early and don't be mean. So, sponsors and exhibitors, key there. Of course, a conference like this is nothing without some fantastic attendees as well. So, who came along and in what sort of numbers?
We're just going through the final check-in numbers now, and as you can imagine, we've got an immense amount of data from the scanning of people in, which just short of 800 people actually walked through the door. First day, over 550 people, and the first day was mainly a drop-in session for those arriving early because of the logistics. We wanted to make it easy so that if you arrived in mid-afternoon into Liverpool, there was something for you to go and learn from. I think people actually made a beeline to get there for these sessions. And one of the unique things about this event is we do limit the amount of space for the private sector and industry. We target at least a 60-40 split in favour of law enforcement and public sector agencies to be free delegates in the event. And then the private sector, we limit often to 1 or 2 people per agency once they're not a sponsor. And that's so we can get that diversity of mixing, but also from a sponsor's point of view means that they're not just talking to all the sponsors or the suppliers, they're actually talking to the CTOs, CIOs, chief officers. Chief Constable Carden said on our debrief call yesterday with the rest of the Police Digital Service, he was quite enthusiastic on the call yesterday, to say the least, about how he felt about the event. Said he was knocking over chief constables and chief officers everywhere he could see. We had the most chief officers for this sort of event we've ever had. And that was a deliberate effort by the team in the Police Digital Service, by the steering committee, Rob and Jeremy's work with support of Gavin Stevens, to make sure that we're getting the senior leaders, the technologists, the practitioners as well, the frontline operational people, the people leading change and business improvement in policing, and our partners from wider CJ, criminal justice partners, alongside there, all in the same room at the same time. So we've got all the views that we need, because the technology alone won't solve the challenges we've got. It's the technology, it's the adoption, it's the business change, and it's a clear definition of what we're trying to achieve.
And some serendipity there, because Rob Carden, now the Chief Constable of Merseyside, relatively recently appointed as Chief Constable of Merseyside, and of course the event was in Liverpool, and Liverpool is
we selected
in
Liverpool long before he got that role,
Absolutely,
but it did help when I managed to leverage getting one of his brand new police cars onto the stage, which
the set looked amazing. The set looked fantastic. It really did. Agenda and speakers, you've touched on this. I just want to acknowledge that one of our team, Ian Barrett, was a speaker at the event talking about the digital experience survey that we're running along with the National Police Chiefs Council, the College, PDS, and indeed other key supporters, Home Office included. The agenda looked superb. The list of speakers looked fantastic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had over 80 different sessions in some ways, whether they be drop-in sessions or the theatre. The venue is an incredible venue, and it had 3 auditoriums. And one of the things we wanted to do was to think differently about the delivery and run concurrent content along the side. So our message to the forces was send at least 4 people, because there was 4 things to go to at any given time, a lot of the time through the agenda. Because there is so much going on in this space. We needed to make sure we reflected everything from data, cyber, information assurance, the user's experience going on to the survey, and we actually popped the link to the survey into the delegate app so that people can navigate their way to it as much as possible. Because data, understanding the position, the evidence-led approach to innovation. We had the awards, which we'll come on to, I'm sure. We even had an award in one of the speeches from Professor Paul Taylor about failing forward, about recognising when it's the right thing to stop an idea, and it's because it's not going to deliver everything we want it to, or it may not have even been the right idea in the first place. We covered all those aspects, and it was that real mix of suppliers, practitioners, leaders, and outside partners talking about it.
So, Professor Paul Taylor, from memory, the chief police scientific advisor. Forgive me, Paul, if I
Yes,
don't have
that's
your
right.
title quite right there, but that's the essence of it. You've mentioned awards there. I'm tempted in a way to give an award to my colleague leading for us on the World Policing Advisory side, Gary Stewart, who I believe to
Yes.
be the person who travels the greatest distance to get to the event. Gary lives
Yeah.
in Perth, Australia. So I don't think there was anybody who travelled further, was there? Or is Gary the winner of that informal,
Gary's won
entirely
that one by
unofficial
a
award?
slight margin. We had a few colleagues from the US come over. We certainly had some European interest. Not as much as we perhaps sometimes get. It was a little bit tricky to travel at this time because of the agendas and things, but we do attract a worldwide audience. But yes, Gary was our furthest flung attendee.
And
You know,
And you
go
do
on, sorry.
encourage attendees from overseas, before we come on to the awards themselves,
Yes.
for 2026. If you're not previously familiar with this event and you are from anywhere in the world, do take an interest in this as the agenda emerges. But on the awards, 8 categories ranging from excellence in productivity and value through excellence in science and technology leadership, excellence in cybersecurity, 8 in total. Um,
Yeah.
I won't run through each and every one of them, other than just I will say that I do hope that Policing Insight and Policing TV are able to pick up on not just those that were ultimately the winners, but those that were shortlisted, because
Yeah.
getting a shortlisting here is a wonderful achievement.
And it's so important. We had over 130 nominations for these awards this year. And we had to have 2 judging committees, a tactical and a strategic, because there was so much to go through. And we ended up giving 9 awards, actually, because we couldn't split one of them in the end. We had some highly commendeds given on the night. And we came up with the idea a couple of years ago about doing these awards. Last year, we had to do it with a virtual ceremony. Really wanted to get to where it needed to be, because police staff in particular, and between a third and half of all forces are made up of police staff who don't carry the warrant, but play a pivotal role in the delivery of policing, and certainly in police technologists. Really rarely get that opportunity to get recognition for the amazing work they do. They enable the front line. They keep people safe by giving the officers and staff the tools to do the job. So these are specifically awards for the police technologists. The suppliers don't actually get opportunity. They get opportunity to nominate their partners in the police forces for the work they've done, and it can recognise the partnership and the collaborative work done with the suppliers. But it's the police staff, the police officers, who are the ones who get these awards. And it was so meaningful for them. Rob Carden, again, yesterday on the debrief, talked about how emotional it felt for those winners getting up on stage with the lights, the smoke, the fantastic music after the meal. We had all the shortlist seat categories and winners, nominees at the event. They didn't know who'd won until we announced it on that stage. And that was important. We wanted it to be a proper awards ceremony to recognise those people who go above and beyond all the time and keep the lights on with some of the challenging technologies, but are also driving fantastic innovation.
You're making it even more difficult for me not having been able to get there. I absolutely do want to be there next year, 2026. But before then, I'm sure you're going to have more detailed post-event analysis, though I do hope that first you and your colleagues are going to have a bit of a breather, because you'll have been operating at 110%, I'm sure, for if not days, possibly even weeks. So a break, but then a sort of post-event review. How is that going to take shape?
That's already starting. So we've sent out the evaluation forms and we're already getting the evaluation back. We had some hiccups. It was the first time running an event ourselves in-house, but they were minor compared to what we could have done. I think, we will improve the delegate experience on the digital platform. I've never seen so many people using a digital app in an event. As we normally do, considering we're police technologists, we don't always like technology that isn't there. So we've still got some bumps and some detail to iron out. We only had the software about 12 weeks ago, and we've made it a really good experience as much as we could. Some bugs in there, we'll get that fixed. I've made sure that my core event team had a day off yesterday so we can do it. I must admit I walked 14 miles on the Monday. You saw me online at about 5:30 doing, walking around, looking at the venue before I got in there. By the time I finished, I'd walked 14 miles because the venue was huge. The amount of, it doesn't tell me how many stairs I climbed, but there's a lot of stairs there. But we'll look at what we can improve, and we've certainly based the improvements on previous feedback. We addressed any shortcomings from the 23 event, like catering. The food at the venue was exceptional. There's a few things to improve. We've improved Wi-Fi, but these are minor things. Wi-Fi needed to be faster. That's something we can do. We can make that better. The delegate app can be made slightly better. Not everybody liked the food, but vast majority really loved the food. We're definitely having ice cream and coffee carts back again. We're definitely going to have the experience of a proper auditorium, great AV. Might even try and get 2 police cars next time if we go back to the ACC. We haven't set a date for the new event yet. We've got to obviously negotiate the venues, and we would like to move this into the spring in the 27 as well, because it gives it a better rhythm with the other key big police events, such as the APCC, MPCC conference that happens in November. We want to try and separate them out, and with our other partners to make sure there's a clear tactical approach to events moving forward. It's not just about this one event. Part of my role is to make sure that we continue the engagement throughout the year on specific themes, culminating in a big summit every year to make sure that we're driving forward on the strategic objectives.
Well, my congratulations to you, to your immediate team, to Police Digital Service and to the NPCC on putting on what clearly was a fabulous event. I have heard you say that you haven't got dates for the next such event. It may be early part of 2027, I think you said, and the venue yet to be confirmed. But those will be, you'll put those in the public domain in due course. And let me just take this opportunity then to wish you and your team, your immediate team, a suitable breather before you get into the post-event review in detail.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a huge partnership. This is that, we worked really closely with our principal sponsor, Virgin Media O2 Business, who actually came to the site early on to have a walk around and gave us suggestions. The suppliers gave us suggestions. The steering committee gave us suggestions. You gave us the suggestion of the ice cream cart. We want to, this is not an event done to this sector. This is an event for the sector, with the sector. So please, if you've got suggestions on how we can make things better or different approaches to make sure we can keep this engagement moving forward, because the only way we're going to deliver those core ambitions of the DDAT and science innovation strategy is in collaboration with each other. So that's what our role is to help do.
David Bailey, Head of Events and Brand Engagement at the Police Digital Service in the UK. Congratulations once again, and thank you very much for joining us here on Policing TV.